Welcome to Lesson 2 Priority and Boundaries. This is the second lesson in the Devotion to Spouse curriculum. The goal of this lesson is to increase understanding of how to create priorities and boundaries in marriage to increase commitment and communication. By understanding priorities and creating boundaries in our marriage, we will increase our connection and commitment to each other. How often are we choosing to put other people and things over our spouse? What is this doing to our relationship? What changes can you make to increase your connection and commitment to your spouse? First, we will talk about priorities in marriage and what that should look like for a successful relationship. Michelle asked, "Does your spouse get the biggest piece of cake with the frosting, or do they get the crumbs?" What happens to the deep feeling of connection if your honest answer is my spouse gets the crumb? Ask yourself, do the kids, extended family, and our friends come first? Are you always working even when you are home? Do you and your spouse eat meals together, talk, laugh, enjoy each other's company? Do you show interest in what is going on in your spouse's world? Do you make sure you are spending quality time together? Take an honest assessment of your priorities. Who and what is most important to you, and how do you show it? Each marriage might have different priorities depending on what is involved and their passions. One passion that should be the same in all marriages is prioritizing your spouse. Priorities mean what it means to have priorities is running the things you are doing through your spouse. An example of this is when a coworker asks you to go out to drinks after work. Your first thought should be to call your spouse, to check on them, and then decide and discuss if you should go. You have to have balance in these priorities. It builds a tone of humility. You have to worry less about being right, more about your concern for them. It builds confidence in your relationship and in yourself because of that connection is there. Communication builds connection. The desire to understand our spouse over being understood. It doesn't mean neglecting your responsibilities, like not going to work. It doesn't mean neglecting yourself or your kids. It means creating that space that your kids understand that your spouse is priority. So if your kids are coming in and trying to talk to you when your spouse is speaking, let your kids know that you are listening to your spouse and then you will listen to them, showing them that your priority is your spouse and then them. And it's not controlling another person. It's not taking away their ability to do something. It is creating a balance and a connection that goes beyond. If you need more information on priorities, I have several links and videos of professionals talking about the importance of priorities and creating boundaries. And this will be in the description of this video as well as on the website. Boundaries can have different views in relationships. Many see it as a limitation or a way to control. Boundaries are a way to ensure safety and priority are being met in a marriage. It is creating safeguards in marriage to build communication, break addiction, and rebuild trust. So, we're going to talk about boundaries for everything outside of our spouse right now. So, creating these boundaries for everything outside of our marriage can help protect what is most important in our marriage. Creating these boundaries is key to living shared values. You will experience resistance along the way, but over time, people will learn to respect you for making your marriage the highest priority. Those who are the hardest to set these boundaries with, Stan calls thirds. Thirds can be parents, children, relatives, close friends, and coworkers. Thirds don't see themselves as intruding. Generally, they're closer to one spouse than the other. They disrupt the delicate balance of power between the spouses, and without clear boundaries, thirds get exactly what they want. So when we say no to thirds, it can be difficult, but making sure that there's a priority. No. So saying no and explaining why it doesn't fit your priorities. You can use a delayed tactic with them. You can give them time, you giving yourself time to respond. This is like stating like, I'm not fully sure what our plans are yet. I need to talk to my spouse about what's going on, those types of things. Let me check with my calendar. That can delay. That's a delayed tactic to responding to thirds. You can also make a counteroffer. If they want you to hang out with them when it's your planned date night, make a different offer. Say, hey, I already have plans for that night, but let's do something this night. Are you available this night? And let's hang out then. That is a counteroffer that can allow for those thirds to still be a part of your life, but it's within the bounds that you are setting with you and your spouse. When you're confronting a difficult third, remember to always buy time. Talk to your spouse about it first. Don't just respond because it's easy or convenient. Have a shared success conversation with your spouse about times when you have been able to talk to that difficult third and it's been successful, and make note of how it's been successful so then that can keep happening. Buying time gives you space to talk to your spouse about what is best for your priorities. Stick together on this. Don't change what you have decided to keep the peace with your thirds. The goal is to courageously set the boundaries that allow you to live your priorities with your spouse. In the book the 80-80 Marriage by Kelp and Kelp, they give this step-by-step assessment to break down priorities and create boundaries. The 80-80 mindset is a marriage is focused on the radical generosity and shared success. Each partner contributes 80% for a combined whole of 160%. This is not just a 50-50 relationship. This is going beyond that in fairness, or going beyond just fairness to generosity, to desire to want to serve. So first to ask, like, what is in your boat? And step one is, what is on your boat today? So you're going to take a few minutes with your partner to draw or write out all the things you carry as a couple in your current relationship boat. You can draw them to scale or draw boxes around them to indicate how much or how little of your time or energy they consume. There's a list that I have pulled up here that is examples of what you might want to include in your boat. This can be hobbies, trips, alone time, rest, sleep. What is most important to you? What is on your boat today? And how much time is it taking? How much energy does that consume? Now you're going to talk to your partner about where do you have too much time for something? Where do you not have enough time for? What would you like to throw out of your boat? What do you want to get rid of that you can get rid of? Think back to your values, your shared successes of help, like that you've been able to use with your spouse and decide together. Keep coming back and again to that 80-80 response of generosity, going beyond just the 50-50 balance. And then what is in your dream boat? Live your priorities together. What would your dream boat look like? And then finally is, what are 3 to 5 boundaries with life that you two together want to set up to turn this dream boat into reality? So writing down these boundaries that you will set can help you when you are responding to boundaries with those thirds. So safe boundaries with others. This is a big part of why we want to create boundaries in our marriage, is because other people can start really affecting things if our connection is not with our spouse. So when our connection becomes more important than our connection with our spouse, this is a form of infidelity or cheating. There's several different types of cheating and infidelity. There's physical infidelity. This is sexual or heavy intimacy contact with another one that's not your spouse. There's emotional infidelity, developing a deep emotional bond with somebody outside of the relationship. This can be virtual or in person, but creating that emotional bond where you turn to that person more than you turn to your spouse. Digital or cyber cheating, using online resources to reach out, flirt, create romantic connections, sex, all those things are cyber cheating and digital cheating. There's also micro cheating, you seeming available when you're out, flirting with others, reaching out to an ex, acting single when you're in social settings. These are all forms of cheating, infidelity, and if we are not creating those safe boundaries with other people, this becomes more easily accessible because we are putting others above our spouse. So when we create boundaries in our marriage, there's several different types of boundaries we can create. There's emotional boundaries. This is when we're not using our spouse's weaknesses or vulnerabilities against them, especially in disagreements. This is where we're building trust, creating trust, keeping trust, using compassionate listening again, and having a space for listening without judgment. We can also have communication boundaries. This is using effective communication, creative conflict resolution, no name calling or yelling, and having the ability and understanding that you can pause the conversation, give that space, and then speak again when the tension has calmed down. There's also a 5 by 5 rule. This is an example that you can use during deployments or limited phone time or even just limited time that you have to talk to each other. One person gets to talk for 5 minutes without any interruptions. Then the next person gets to talk for 5 minutes without interruptions. Then they both collaborate for the last 5 minutes. This can be used to help slow down the high stress conversation, especially when time is limited. There's also time and social boundaries, creating priorities and expectations of time spent together and discussing desires and time spent apart. There's physical and sexual boundaries, respecting boundaries of phones, open conversations about physical and sexual intimacy, being able to really respect your spouse and the boundaries that you've set. There's financial boundaries, reviewing your budget together. You can go back to the introduction to financial stability lessons that I've created to learn more about how to review your budget together, creating a plan for how your money should be spent, and planning for the future. When we are creating those boundaries, it's good to lead with good intent. Set those boundaries to grow in connection and love with your relationships. Boundaries are not a way to punish or limit. They are a way to strengthen and secure your marriage. This is why it's important to understand your priorities before setting your boundaries. Be clear and specific. Be honest. Explain your meaning of why you want a boundary there. Be willing to state when you are feeling overwhelmed by it. Set clear consequences. When creating boundaries, consequences need to be discussed. The example that I came up with was if you agree not to yell or start yelling, and then you start yelling at each other, then your boundary, your consequence to the fact that you yelled is that you have to walk away from each other for 30 minutes with a promise to return again and continue the conversation, calm down, and be able to come back and resume the conversation without that yelling. You have to hold the line. Forcing the boundaries can create pushback and temporary frustrations. It can be hard when you're creating these boundaries. It can be hard to be able to feel like they're being successful when it's hard and it's change and it's new. This can also come from your thirds or outside influences when things are changing and you are putting your marriage over other things that you used to do. It will take time to create a new form of behavior or habit. You can give empathy, honesty, communication, and patience. All of these will help in that process of strengthening these boundaries. and your ability to connect with your spouse. So this week, I would like you to hold an executive council meeting. If you don't understand what an executive council meeting is, you can go back to lesson 3 in effective communication. I talk about different types of family council meetings, but an executive council meeting is a meeting with your spouse. And you can, and I would like you to discuss your priorities. Really talk about your priorities, go back to what's in your boat and go through that, and then decide from there how to create boundaries. And what you're going to do with those boundaries and why you want them, what the consequences are going to be, how you're going to hold them during hard times. Have all those conversations to rebuild up your marriage to be your marriage the way that you want it to be with you and your spouse. Thank you.